Good science, by definition, allows for more than one opinion. Otherwise, you merely have the will of one man, which is the basis of cult.
If it's not in frame, it doesn't exist.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you?
Where you been?
Drunk. Wendy? Darling? Light of my life.
What is your one purpose in life?
To explode, of course.
I like death with sex. How about you, Casey? You like sex with death?
Yeah, so fuck up and die.
Yeah, that's right, buddy. I know.
That'd be your superhero name.
I
The
can't.
recliner.
I feel bad for anyone watching the video because I look absurd.
It's beautiful. So everyone at home,
You did.
if you don't watch the YouTube, you know, which I highly recommend, you go check out our YouTube channel. It's just us in conversation form, us in our homes.
Yeah, it's just like
But-
Discord.
Yeah, it's like this essentially. Yeah, and so it's really nice though because you can listen to the podcast and you can watch us. You can see us in our natural habitat. And right now, Levi he's relaxing in a big comfy chair. He looks like a toddler who's in a normal office.
Jordan said it right when he said it looked like I have some wasting disease. Because I do.
Yeah.
I look like I got a FDR style,
Yeah, right.
like I'm dying of polio.
Well, it was even better. It was better because you had like a knit blanket, like over the back of it.
It's too hot. This
and
thing
it
is
just.
hot.
Well, yeah, dude.
Well, I
it's
can't
4,000
fucking
degrees.
wait because winter. This is gonna be the best. I'm gonna snuggle up here. I'm gonna watch my movies because it's super comfy. But normally this is not my death. I just had to save my recliner. So just so we know.
Yeah. Right.
and
You're
it's
just getting some mileage in it.
It's a good thing I'm gonna have a recliner because, boy, I'm gonna need to be comfy to watch this next movie so I don't fucking fall asleep.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. You're gonna be too comfy. You need a rigid metal, like fucking school chair.
It's
that
like
you
a
can
medieval torture
Yeah, you need
device.
you need something that like keeps you awake. You need like Guantanamo Bay.
So this is the Cult of Cinema Knowledge podcast.
Welcome aboard.
I'm Levi, FDR wasting away, polio Robinson. There's Jordan and Howard over there. Sleepy Bones from working so hard today. He's a hard-working boy.
I work too hard.
I came in hot with that, saying that
know.
I was so bored because today we watched. So this month is Thriller Month. We started off. I was going somewhat chronologically with the timeline. So the first movie we watched was none other than the man himself, Alfred Hitchcock. You might even say the inventor of the genre of like the suspense film. We watched 1958's Vertigo. Is what we watched today, and I gotta say,
Sure is.
I was pretty bummed.
Yeah. Okay. I know, dude. Okay, this is weird. I'm just gonna read a synopsis really quick.
Back it up.
And then we
Okay.
can just get into it.
I'm sorry.
Because for anybody at home, if you've never seen this and you just want to know like a little bit of the story arc here,
I'm gonna do
what
my
happens?
arms over here, man.
Okay. You're also. I can see you like from fucking ankles to top of your head, so it's weird.
You see my whole body.
Yeah, your whole body, dude. You look like a toddler. You look like you're 4 feet tall.
All right, go read the synopsis.
Hey, the synopsis for Vertigo. John Scotty Ferguson is a retired San Francisco police detective who suffers from acrophobia, and Madeline is the lady who leads him to high places. I didn't write this synopsis. I'm just reading one off of it's Film Facts Man is the person who wrote this. It's off IMDb. Nice. So I love it. This is classy. A wealthy shipbuilder who is an acquaintance from college days approaches Scotty and asks him to follow his beautiful wife, Madeline. He fears she's going insane, maybe even contemplating suicide, as he believes she has been possessed by a dead ancestor who committed suicide. Scotty is skeptical, but agrees to the assignment after he sees the beautiful Madeline. Madeline takes him on some high adventures, and it culminates with them, in a deed. I don't know. That's it. It's like, yeah, it kind of gets like silly. It gets like really deep, but this movie is pretty simple, just like an ex-detective gets an assignment, and then the assignment kind of interests him because, the whole like the possession thing is just kind of it doesn't seem like Scott. It doesn't seem right. I don't know, man. I'm like I can't.
She kills herself halfway through, supposedly. And
Right.
Scotty goes kind of crazy. Then he sees some other girl on the street. That's the only real important plot point. Sees some other girl on the streets that he starts falling in love with. That turns out is the same girl who was involved in some, scheme with the other guy, a harebrained scheme to kill his wife. And she also falls to her death at the end because Scotty loses. He goes full on cuckoo bananas.
Well, yeah, right. She gets caught up into it as well. It's kind of interesting. Like her character, she falls in love with Scotty, but she's playing a double of Madeline.
Yeah.
So it's like the layers are there.
I was interested by because I've seen enough film noirs to know that she faked her death.
Oh, right. Clearly,
this chick, femme fatale, written all over her fucking face. But I thought it was kind of interesting to be like, oh, she was actually hired to play his wife, and so Scotty never actually even met the real wife.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he only met her, who was like the imposter, so that when she could lure him in and be the witness to the real dude's wife's death. Because they went up to the clock tower and then he snapped his wife's neck and threw her off the edge of the tower, the bell tower, and he thought it was her, but really the dead body was actually his wife, but she was just the ringer, she was the stand-in, so she went back to her life.
So it wasn't okay. That explains that helps me out so much if that's really what happened.
Yeah, that's much better.
That makes oh my god, dude! The entire time I was watching this movie. When they get to the bell tower and the body gets thrown off, that's supposed to be a real body that got thrown off.
That was his actual wife.
That
was his actual wife because she was just like an actress hired to play his wife, essentially, for Scotty's benefit. How
long did he have the corpse?
I don't know. It was laughable. When I was because at first I was like, "What just happened?"
I thought it was supposed to be. A dummy. So the whole time I was confused because I thought they threw a double dummy out, and then I was like, "Well, how?" It's like the coroner would be like, "This is a dummy." They wouldn't, they wouldn't be like, "This is a human body."
Yeah, exactly. But it turns out because that's what's fucked up. So one of my biggest problems with this movie, one of many, unfortunately, is the only time this is explained. Is through voiceover near the end when she's writing him a note.
When she writes the note.
And then she rips it up. And without that, we would assume she was just some other random chick that looked like her until then there's the other at the very end when Scotty figures it all out. But he figures it out with no real purpose. He doesn't understand it. And it's only because we know because they basically just dumped exposition right on top of us. I think it would have been more interesting. I'm like, without that voiceover, you'd have no idea. And honestly, it might even be more interesting if they figured it out at the end better to make it more of a twist. Because then the whole time that Scotty's going fucking crazy trying to dress her up like her.
Oh my god, dude!
You're for 45 minutes.
I liked that for how intense that is for a narrative. It's amazing.
Well, and especially for the era too. It's just definitely
Right. And that obsession, it was the most interesting part of the whole movie to me.
I agree. I think the second half had definitely more. It was just frustrating because I'm like, once I realized, I'm like, oh, it is actually her. She's not telling him and she's just humoring his fucking crazy antics, which is why are you doing this? Either put your foot down or just tell him, yes, it's me. I was part of a murder scheme, and then move past it at that point because it's way too much. It's just good. But honestly, it was that bit was interesting, and I would almost a whole movie of that style because I think that's a cool, unique thing where it's just like I fell in love with this chick that was like I thought was dead, and she was actually playing someone that died. Blah blah blah.
Well, then, and I kind of wish that, like you're saying, I wish that the inciting incident was the suicide, and then we spend the rest of the movie, because he gets out, he's in like a, whatever, a asylum or a home for,
He's there for like a year.
Work on his mental health.
Yeah.
Or a year, right? Isn't that what it's supposed to be? I don't remember. Do they say that, or is there like?
Yeah, they say at least like 6 months, and then but it's a year past when he's back out in the world and he sees her again.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So he's been Anyways, so it's like, and we'll have to talk about Midge for a second too. She got done dirty because it's like,
dude, I was literally waiting for her to come back because she's like, I'll take care of you, Scotty, and she's like, she swoops in at the institution to like, oh, okay, like you're hurt, like I'm here for you.
Take him out of it almost, yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like, I don't know. She shows him that painting, and he is like, no, and she's never in it again.
That painting is amazing.
It is good.
I want that painting.
It's fun.
But God, it sucks because I'm like, now that it's like, oh man. Anyways, it's less like I knew what was happening in the movie. I'm just kind of more frustrated that it was that, and like, because he got tricked into thinking this so that when he would testify, they could make it seem like she killed herself because she was not necessarily possessed, but whatever. She was
and that he was the witness to it, because it's like if the husband was there and she died, then it's like suspicion on him.
Which I think is like cuckoo bananas. He could have just thrown her out of the clock tower and left. It's like 1957. Like no one gives a fuck. You're gonna throw a woman out of there and like walk away. No one's.
Well, that's exactly your point, though. Is like they should have started it. The inciting incident should have been the suicide, but it didn't come until over an hour into the movie. And
what a fucking tedious hour that was.
Yeah, and the only reason it didn't is because it was supposedly establishing them falling in love, which for being so boring and like drawn out, still felt rushed. That they're like, I love, like, oh my god, as long as we're together, you know what I mean? And then that's why he's so heartbroken when she dies.
Right.
Follows through with this murder plot and then just ghosts him. But man, I don't know. This was your first time seeing it, obviously, right? What was
for you too, right?
Yeah. So I was excited to watch this because I had randomly watched on a whim. Like I love Hitchcock, but I've only seen so many of his movies, and so on a whim, like a couple weeks ago, I had watched for the first time North by Northwest, and I loved it. I thought it was awesome.
That's right.
Like it was simple, but it was a lot of fun. It had a good pacing. Like it was just a classic case of mistaken identity story. So coming into this, I was like, okay, cool. I like James Stewart.
I don't. That's a big part for me too. I wanted to say like, no, dude, James Stewart. Like, it's like his performance in Rear Window, right?
Yeah.
Or not Rear. Or yeah. It's
he's in Rear Window. Everyone knows him. Like I know him from It's a Wonderful Life, originally, and then obviously Rear Window.
Right. And Rear Window, I like his performance, but I don't know. I like it because he's not pursuing a child, and or just like a young. It is because that was something that Hitchcock himself was really frustrated with. Is James Stewart at the time was like 60 years old?
No, I looked it up. He was like 49.
No, I thought. Oh, is it? I thought it was 59, but yeah, 49, and she was 26 or 24.
No,
24.
That's still quite the gap, but.
That's a gap. It shows to me. I don't know.
I know. I'm not saying I agree with it, but once you're over 25, it's like the fucking gloves are off.
Sure, I understand. Yeah, clearly, it's like if there's, I don't know. Yeah, that's a whole different conversation.
You know, but it is weird.
Manipulation of power.
You and I are now in our early 30s, and I look at they're like, this chick's 26, and I'm like, shut the fuck up. She still looks 100, just because it's just the clothing style and everything. But then.
The time period.
But then after they said that, I like leaned in close and I'm like, okay, she is really young. Like I could see it in her face. It's just weird, just because like, I don't know, everyone looked older back then to us, just because the style.
There's a glow. There's a glow with the film.
There's an interesting Vsauce video about it. Go check it out about why everyone looks older.
Well,
back
because
then.
they look like our grandparents. Like,
Yeah.
They look like
Yeah.
people. Yeah, that's
That's the main gist of it.
That's
You should check that out though. But I don't know. That James Stewart, he's okay. He didn't, because I saw your thing. You were talking about how he's like, you called him like a strip of beef jerky or whatever.
I call him a 10-foot piece of beef jerky.
And I was like, okay,
it is
bud.
it is like gray or not as in that like he has like a red, like a sandy red suit. And he's just like
he's
him
way
lumbering
more-
around, big, just like I
He's
know, I
a
just
thousand
hate
times
him.
more charming and better looking than like
Well-
I would say his contemporaries, or at least when you say a beef jerky man, I think like Charlton Heston, or I think like Clint Eastwood or
Right,
something.
right.
Where it's
Right.
just like I'm
they
like, I don't know. James Stewart's okay. I think he's got that perfect 50s voice though.
His voice is good, and it's like he's in that. We watched that courtroom drama with him in it.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
kind of, what the
Anatomy of-
hell?
Anatomy
It's
of a Murder,
Anatomy
right?
of a Murder. Thank you. Yeah, we
That's
watched
right.
that with him, and
I
go
like
listen to that podcast. But it's like him talking. It is that like he has that perfect drawl. Like he has a very memorable voice.
He does.
And he's a fine actor. He's more. I would say he does less acting as much as he kind of just does like gliding around and just talking. I don't know. That was one thing I noticed in this movie specifically is the blocking is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Every single scene, people are, even when he's like sitting in a chair, he'll move to the blocking of the other person. Like when he's talking with his colleague, it's like they use that whole space. It's really dope. Instead of just shooting like a wide and then like just over the shoulders, back and forth and have a conversation.
The
they're
cinematography
up,
in
dude.
this movie is amazing. Like honestly, that's what kept me going, because didn't care. Like the two didn't really have that much of a chemistry in my opinion, and the whole like build up of them falling in love, and it was like the whole time you're like kind of throwing shade on him because he's like putting the moves on his friend's wife.
No, that's a dick ass move.
And then
dude,
I'm like,
for sure.
Yeah,
But
and so the whole time I'm like, whatever. But what kept me going was that dank ass cinematography. Like it is some of the best like color film that I've seen, and the colors are just so vibrant and so good that I've seen from that era. It's really great. That was like, and there was a lot of cool like matte painting. I assume. I didn't look up at all like the making of, but you could tell some of it was like, some of it had that like 50s matte painting look. Like they definitely like added like a glass over the frame to like get crazy shots of like certain exteriors.
Yeah, of course. Those the shots that are, well, apparently to do his because he's been wanting to do that, like the fuck do they call it, like vertical zoom or whatever.
Well, see, that's why I was excited about this movie too, because
the Hitchcock shot it has his shot.
They call it the Zolly, zoom dolly,
Right.
or the Vertigo shot.
Right.
Because it's like this essentially is what I don't know if it was the first use of it, but it was certainly what modernized and popularized
It was. It was. He
great.
was developing. He's been developing this shot since the 40s.
It's great.
He's been it's like the technology
And it's
like
smooth
didn't
as
exist.
fuck. Like
It's
obviously
really smooth.
we've talked about it. The best Vertigo shot is not Vertigo, it's Jaws.
Right.
But for sure. But
Right.
it is
They get
really
that
good
light
in
down.
this. It is really good in this, and I wish they almost used it more because they only used it on those stairs. Really.
Well, they use it once when he's hanging from the rain gutter. The first time you see it, and then it's in that bell tower.
Yeah.
And it almost is. There's too much. It's like I don't know. It was like so much for just right at the end. They kept using that same one, which is cool. It's just fine. It's just like
I was just bummed.
I mean, I don't know.
The whole
So
time
weird.
I was like, what is the point of him having vertigo or having this phobia of heights?
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, okay. It was part of the murder plot that like they knew she wouldn't be able to chase her up the steps because of his fear of heights or whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But it's just like the whole time I was like waiting for something to like, I was waiting for the point. And I think the whole idea of like her thinking that like, even though we all learn later that it was all a scheme, it was all never believed, but the whole like my dead ancestor is like the reason for my suicide seems so overly complicated. It really just did not work for me.
Oh, really? See, and that's what's funny is I liked it because I thought it was enough of a hook to get him to follow her, and then when him following her around, that like it's like I'm saying, this all could have been 50, this all could have been the inciting incident.
If they
This could have
didn't,
been
if
20
they
minutes.
didn't want to establish the love connection, but it's just like tweak it.
No,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna steal this general idea and just redo it. Like this movie doesn't need to be remade, but it's just like There's a lot of things I really like to cherry pick from this because there's a lot of
Yeah, of course.
it's got good bones, but I feel like the execution's so. But
well, I just think it's crazy because Hitchcock did like Rope, which apparently was James Stewart
also
too,
James Stewart,
which,
yeah.
which I forgot because I've seen Rope, and Rope's really good. But Rope is like Rope takes place. It's more like a play
yeah,
than his other films, but it just takes place in one room, and it's amazing. And it's shot. His cinematography is phenomenal. That it's like that goes without saying, and that came before this movie. Just the fact that it's bizarre to me that this sits as like Hitchcock's greatest film.
Well, he definitely has his golden era because I went and looked back at his filmography, and it's not as extensive as I would have normally thought. Because obviously he was most well known for like Alfred Hitchcock Presents back in the day, and then obviously
I wanted to ask you. I was gonna propose that to you. What do you think his like? What's his biggest movie?
Psycho.
And I'm curious what you think. I was gonna say. I'm curious what you think. Like, his biggest movie, just that he brought. Like, it's his one film, like his 2001: A Space Odyssey or something.
I think
the one movie that made him.
Psycho had the biggest impact for sure.
Right.
But I think that maybe Rear Window is his like magnus opum. Like, it's hard to say because I wanted to see Rear Window again, but it's incredible and it does what he does extremely well. Psycho is like a horror movie and is like establishes so many good things within that genre, but it's him getting a little bit more experimental.
And that's Psycho's my favorite.
Psycho, it's hard to beat Psycho. Psycho's
I haven't
amazing.
seen that many though.
Dude,
honestly.
North by
I need to
Northwest
see
is a lot of fun. Like I
really want to see it.
It's kind of like surface level. Like the plot is so because it's literally a guy. They think this guy is someone else, and it's not that deep. But it's cool. It's got a lot of fun scenes, and it's a good time. I really like North by Northwest, surprisingly. But yeah, I was bummed. I don't know. I was bummed by this. There's a lot I liked, but I was expecting more, just because it's like it is so highly regarded. You know what I mean? It sits in the middle of his like big ones because this is, I'm pretty sure if I remember right, North by Northwest was either right before or right after this.
It was right after, a year after. So yeah.
Okay, and then Psycho.
I'm looking at it right now, and Psycho was 60, so a year after that.
Right.
So it's like,
but
he basically is. Yeah, do you know
Rear Window was a couple
right.
years before. It's like right in the middle of this.
From like Rope, because that's the thing, dude. Rope is 1948.
Yeah.
It's it's just as mature. It's just as mature as Vertigo. So it's kind of wild because he did like Rope, and then it's like Strangers on a Train, which is like Psycho and Strangers on a Train. Those are tied.
Yeah.
For me, have you ever seen Strangers on a Train?
I have. I did not know it was Alfred Hitchcock though. Like because I honestly like when I went through my first noir phase, I watched Strangers on a Train.
And dude, Strangers on a Train is like that's 1951, and that has some of the most memorable shots of any movie I've ever seen. And like I still think about the death scene in that. And so it's just like Strangers on a Train is so strong, and I'm like, it's so wild that Vertigo kind of hit that, and it is beautifully shot. It's just I don't know. Maybe that's part of it too. I'm a little spoiled. Like knowing that it's like considered like his greatest work. I'm kind of like reconsider that. He's so many other pieces that I think are better.
Honestly, though, I mean, this one I could see like aging better. You know what I mean? I could see it like having a more like literary or like seems like more of like not a thriller so much as more as like this seems like an Oscar bait type movie for its time, maybe.
Sure. Well, it's wild how did you read that it's like really, really critically like bashed. It was like it was not well received.
I did not read anything about it.
Yeah, it wasn't well received, and Hitchcock actually didn't want he distanced himself from this film, and then he put this film. It was like, I can't remember. I should find the list. I'll post it on r/coldest minute knowledge. there's a list of like 5 movies that he took away. He didn't want anyone. He didn't want to be distributed. He didn't want
that's
anyone to
too
do them,
bad.
and he gave them to his daughter. And then they were re-released in like the late '80s.
That's too bad because I mean, like, this movie's not terrible. I just honestly think
No.
that the writing, like the directing, was great. The directing was good, and it always is. Cinematography was good. It's just
I just think there's
the foundation is fundamentally flawed from the screenplay. From the get-go. It's broken up weird. It's literally almost feels like 2 separate movies. The ending is so jarring and sudden and like kind of anticlimactic.
Dude, do you know how laughable that ending is? So it ends where she goes, so apparently him getting, oh my God, okay. So he's supposed to kick himself out of his acrophobia. He's supposed to have a equally as traumatic event happen to him. You would think that maybe like the death of his lover by suicide might be enough to like kind of kick that out. I was kind of thinking, and then him going to like the like treatment facility, you know, I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I wonder if he's kind of over it. And then they never really touch on it again until the necklace gives away the scheme, which to me
gives away that
like,
it is her. Like
that it is
that
her,
it is
but it's
her.
still it's still to me, I can't quite grasp that it's like that they killed, because the dummy that they throw out of the window is clearly a dummy, and so I didn't realize that it was supposed to really be his real life wife.
Yeah, she
that he
says
killed.
it's such a quick line
I
at
know.
the end because they're ranting, but she like is spilling her guts because he's like, I figured
Right.
it all out, and I'm like, well, that's kind of a leap, bud, but yeah. And then he's like, she's like, oh. I didn't want to go along with it, and she says something about how he broke his wife's neck already.
Yeah, so that's
And so it's
okay,
like he just
wow.
like killed her, broke her neck, and then it's like, okay, and then she came up there and he threw her off, which is, you know, it's a
right.
good
No.
scheme.
That's,
it's just not.
That's great. That's great.
It's played as like a twist, but the reveal is reveal's poor.
The reveal was really rough, but now we're back to the end, and he's following the girl up Judy up the stairs, and then he just kind of gets over it. Like, I get it. It's like it's shot really well and acted really well. Like that intensity of him being like, I figured it out. And, you know, her like genuine terror. It's real, and it all feels great.
That's the best part of the movie for me.
Right.
Right.
I love like
we were
their
saying
relationship is cool.
The whole time James Stewart, like you said, he's floating from scene to scene, but that scene I feel like he really put on the chops. He's sweating, like he feels menacing just because he's finally broke and he's become kind of like the bad guy.
And that's what's nice. It's like he was it's like he was forced to be that, which, you know, to his laughable.
And I was like, okay, if he throws her off, then, or if jumps off himself, which would have been better.
Right. No, I agree. I think that would have been better. Is him looking off the edge, not having vertigo, but then like either falling. The death was so cheesy.
Well, it was just like the nun like comes out like
nun, which I was so confused. Did she get scared of the nun and think that the nun was supposed to be the dead wife?
I have no idea. The nun just startled her and she fell out the window like.
No, she didn't fall out the window. She went, whoa, and she like yeeted herself out the window. It was very silly.
It doesn't even show it like. You know me.
Not even.
You know me. We've talked about this many times.
Falling.
I love a good falling from a high place death.
The cop falling at the beginning is dope.
It is dope.
That was dope. The wife dying, the wife falling was really bad. I was like surprised.
I was like, I chalked it up to the era. I chalked it up to like, all right, this movie's quite old at this point. Sure, whatever. But I'm like, it had some weird compositing things with it. I'm like, at that point, just throw a good looking mannequan out the window.
A good mannequin, right? Which they kind of like did a little bit, but then the shots that they got were weird.
They're weird. They're super weird. But I don't know. But the fact that it just ended, it didn't even show her fall the second time, and it's just like him at the top of the clock tower, like, oh my god.
And then it's like
the end.
The nun praying really fast and then pulling the bell. It felt like a movie that was like, well, how do we end it? And it's just kind of like
they wanted to end it on this supposed shock, but it wasn't so shocking as much as it was like, huh? that's the route they went.
Like Psycho. Psycho ends on a fucking shock, dude. Psycho's one of the greatest movies ever made.
Dude, we should watch it since we're Hitchcock. We should watch it in Horrortober.
Horror Tova, right?
Because no,
We
really,
really
though, when
should.
when
It's
he
like-
turns around the mom and it's the skeleton, and then Anthony Perkin comes in his mom's outfit with the knife. So
Yeah.
so good. That's a climax,
so
buddy.
good.
That's a
It's
climax.
So good, and dude, and the fact that they like fucking murk the main character, right? And so I guess he kind of did that with Vertigo, killed like the main actress right at the beginning.
Yeah, you know something
or whatever,
like
whatever, halfway through. Which,
it's like an hour in. Good lord, because I
But
checked it. I was like, okay,
No, I did the same thing. There's so much driving in this thing. There's so much following.
yeah,
Like I really was like when I was making my review, I was just like trying to think of like a following pun for this. Like
literally.
he's not falling, he's following. It's like I was just like this is ridiculous.
Dude.
The amount of following that he did. And then like it's like their interactions was an inciting incident amount of,
Yeah.
of interaction. I'm
Right.
just saying this movie could have been restructured and I feel like it would have been stronger.
100%.
But it was a fine movie. He did a lot of shit that was like pretty fun, experimental stuff with like it was kind of confusing, but I think I kept it together where like when he's talking to Midge and stuff and he's in the middle of like, he's having like those weird hallucinations
Those
that were
are
like
cool.
in different color.
Those are
and
really
the, like,
cool for the time,
dreamlike.
especially. Yeah.
And there were some times where like, it's weird. I want to watch this movie again so I can catch a lot of the cues. Because there was times when he's in that weird like embargo bookstore or whatever, and he's talking to that old beatnik that knows like San Francisco really well, the real history. There's some like really interesting light cues that happen in that.
Yeah,
and I want to know.
too.
I want to know because I was like, it's hella deliberate. It
Yeah.
had to have been deliberate. It's not like he would screw up. I mean, Hitchcock's already, he's already cemented in.
That's
in
what people
film
don't
at this
realize.
point.
I have that conversation
Right.
with like Pablo and stuff. Sometimes I'm like, say something in a movie and be like, "Whoa, I wonder why they did that." And someone
Yeah.
will be like, "You're reading into it," and I'm like, "Do you think that filmmaking just happens on accident?" Like,
Yeah, no, yeah.
no,
Like,
somebody did
there's
that
a reason.
for a reason. Whether it's a good reason or not remains to be seen. But I'm like, "Oh, that was an interesting choice. Why did they choose to do that cut? Why did
Yeah.
they do it? That shot that way? You know what I mean?"
Yeah.
But,
Well, dude, and I love that iconic shot when he goes down to the bay and like
And he's like at the
is watching
base
her
of
and he's at the
the-
base of the Golden Gate, dude.
Awesome.
Beautiful shot.
Awesome.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, baby, that was so rich.
Them in
Like,
the
and-
redwoods too was really great.
No, I was gonna say that is my. So we're jumping ahead slightly, I guess, because it's kind of like. Anyways, my favorite scene, my favorite part of this whole movie, is that which I kind of think is like a lot of people's favorite part, for good reason, because it's the most like philosophical, it's the deepest part, it's some of the most human part, where she explains when they're looking at that redwood cutout, and it's like the redwoods themselves they're just immaculate. It's like they're just living giants. It's wild to see the
No,
redwoods.
it's really cool. It's
And then
really like a
that,
humbling kind of cosmic moment,
Right. Right. And like showing that like here's like, birth of man or whatever, going through all the like history of the tree,
Yeah.
when it was small and it's getting bigger. And when she's just like, I'm
Here's
here.
where I was
and
born,
here,
here's where
and
I
here's
died,
where I died. And it's so cool. I'm like,
That's
that's
good.
great.
That's really
yeah.
good. I know.
That's a good
Well,
scene.
I like
And
the
it's
bit.
beautifully shot.
It is interesting. He's talking like, he's like, hey, once you save someone's life, like that could have been the opening of the movie. It's like when you save someone's life, then you feel responsible for him. That's all the hook you need
Yes.
to make
Yes.
him to understand his obligation. Like,
Right.
as cool as the cop is, as cool as the Vertigo is, have that be the opening scene. Something with that.
Yeah.
And then it's like that establishes the relationship. She kills herself 20 minutes after that. Trim up the, I don't know. Anyway. But,
Yeah, and give Midge a little bit more. I mean, I think they did a good job at like establishing their relationship, but I couldn't quite understand like if she still pined for him a little bit, or if they're just like good friends and she's like comfortable and strong in her her own life.
I feel like
I don't know.
she's a woman. She's a woman in the movie in the 50s, so of course she's meant to seem like she's pining for him.
Right.
But it's like,
But they also made her pretty independent.
No, she's cool. I wish that
Yeah.
I feel like they kind of underutilized her, which is too
Yeah.
bad. But because I
She
did
was,
like
she was
her,
my favorite character in that.
I kept expecting her to come back in some way in the
Me
third
too.
act, and she didn't really. She just kind of got dropped off, which is too bad.
Yeah.
I think my favorite part, if we're just doing that, is like definitely think my actual favorite part is the very end when James Stewart is getting all rowdy going up the clock tower, just his acting, and it feels very unhinged And for that kind of movie, you don't see it. And even the focus I realized the scene was out of focus.
Yeah.
And I feel like because they're like, that's the best take. And they're like, oh, he's just going off. Let's let him do his thing. You know what I mean? And they couldn't get the focus or whatever. So it felt like that felt in a movie that feels so crisp. It felt like the most raw. And I really liked that. It's just too bad how it ended. But
You're right.
My other favorite part is comes back to the driving, because the first time the driving was happening, I was like, this is really cool. You don't really get to see like a good view of like nice color, crisp, what the streets of San Francisco looked like in the 50s.
Really,
like, this is kind of
really
neat.
though.
You know?
It is. Yeah. Well, and dude, they talk about
the first couple times.
yeah, right, exactly. That was the whole thing. I'm like,
it keeps happening, and you're like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, I'm kind of done with the following. Like, we get it. But there were a lot of landmarks that are, clearly still around.
Is the Golden Gate Bridge still there?
Yeah. They renamed it the Hitchcock Bridge.
They did.
Yeah, now it's the James Stewart. We'll tickle you bridge when you go across it.
Yeah, there you go.
I know, dude. James Stewart just seems like a guy who would because he grabbed her arm a lot, and
oh yeah, he's definitely
close.
He's definitely one to just slap a woman and be like, "You're hysterical," just because she shows any type of heightened emotions.
He'd be like, he really would She's weeping because somebody died, and he's like, "Get up, hold yourself, woman." We got. There's a roast that needs to be put on the oven.
Yeah.
No.
Unfortunately.
It's fine. Whatever, that's everybody. That's everyone from the 50s.
Yeah, I don't know the man. I don't know what it was really like, but it's
clearly.
It just goes to say. No, I know. We're good friends. He's actually my grandfather.
Yeah, right. Disparaging his name. My apologies.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's I'm conflicted on this movie because it's I didn't not like it. I did like it. It was unfortunately kind of a slog to get through, and fundamentally, it didn't have the structure to hold it up, and it didn't have the chemistry between the two leads to make that, because that's what it's about, is him. He goes fucking crazy because she dies, and then he thinks she's he sees a woman that looks like her, and it's just
that is so cool. I wish that was the whole movie.
Yeah, that's the best.
I liked him finding a woman that looked like her, and then I just wish it was that. I wish it was the whole movie. I wish we slowly unraveled, because the fact that this is called Vertigo and the fact that he's got that acrophobia is so pointless to the plot. It literally only uses one plot device because he can't go up the stairs. Sure,
it's
that murder
literally
worked. Whatever.
It's the bad guy's plot twist, which is not
they could have just thrown her out of there when he was down. He was down at the base, and they could have thrown it out, and he could have just thought she jumped. Literally him having vertigo or that.
I'm gonna just write a movie right now, just a dude that just his fucking wife kills herself, and then he just goes insane and finds another woman that looks like her and becomes a psychopath trying to recreate her, because that's a better movie.
And that's fantastic. that and how it works. You needed that letter because obviously exposition, but it worked for her character too. There's I guess they didn't want to have her just say I truly love you. I don't know. It's weird because it's if she genuinely fell in love with him because she was playing the double, I'm that is so cool. That's so fascinating.
That's way more interesting. They should have focused on that.
Yeah.
That's all right. I see it as a class because it sticks in my mind just from the visuals and the scene. It does have that old. It's classic obviously for a reason. Just the looks of it and the feel of it and everything in my mind, I'll always think of it as oh yeah, that feels like such a classic, quote, classic movie. You know what I mean? Because it does feel it's wants to be a Casablanca, but with a twist, with an edge, because it's there's so many scenes as long as we're together, sweetheart, and the close of them kissing, holding each other, all intimate and shit. And it just
and I think that's cool.
I'm just not buying it though, all the way.
And I think, I think that it is also time too. Clearly, this is older, but even for us, because we have we have years and years of other stronger thriller, romance, films that are just done better and more extreme. But this really was that's what I've always liked about Hitchcock is Hitchcock does try to do things that are a little more edgy, a little more thrilling.
And especially for how
Really, yeah,
mainstream he was, like it was a breath of fresh air for how, you know, puritanical, at least for the 20th century, that the era was, is nice. I do like to see him kind of pushing things in that way, because obviously that the more like darker side, you know, we're dark, edgy boys here. So, you know, those kind of movies.
Well,
that's why we're doing thrillers this month, baby.
I think I will, but I will always my benchmark is M.
I was
because
literally about to say
that's a movie in the 30s, and
that
it's
movie,
like thrilling movies have existed forever.
the more,
and
yeah, dude.
it just like M like goes deep, dude.
The
It
more
goes
movies
hard.
I
And
watch,
so like.
I was
you know.
like, I look at this movie and I'm like, oh yeah, that was fine for the time. And then I think about M, and I'm like, did a time traveler make this? Because that movie, M,
Yeah, dude.
M is fucking insane, and it's so good.
M's terrifying. It's brutal, dude.
It's so
and
brutal.
You know, and so it's like that, and that's what I usually
God,
do.
M's
Is I'll be like,
fucking great. That's such
it's
a good
such a good movie. I know, dude. It really is. Like, go listen to that podcast too.
Yeah.
But like M like does things that we're still trying to grapple with now. And so it's just kind of like, that's what's cool. It's like where Vertigo, I do feel like it shows its age completely. You know, and so I'm like there are other movies out there that don't. And I think like one day we're gonna have to do like a bonus episode, or just, you know, an episode on like AFI's like top 5 list or something. You know, like, or go through and like,
We should.
maybe not even AFI's, just top list, because Citizen Kane has always been there, and it's a contender, and Vertigo has passed it a few times, and like Casablanca's been around. But dude, if Citizen Kane is so good. that movie, you know, made modern cinema
Yeah.
in so many ways.
I never
So,
watched the
yeah,
second
like,
half of Citizen Kane. I don't know why. Fuck! I just exited out of this. It's literally like I've watched the first half of Citizen Kane like 5 times, but for some reason
Well,
something always comes
you
up
should-
when I'm watching it.
You should watch the back half because
I know.
it's
I know.
amazing. But do you have any Reddits?
I bet I do. I have this habit on my phone where I pull open all my tabs and I close them to save my battery. So I had
same, yeah.
I had everything open. I had the Reddit open. I had Travis's email open, and I just opened my phone and I closed them all. So I could
Yeah.
get to them all again. Yeah. Did you? While I find it, you got a money minute or something?
Yeah, let me pull that up. I forgot.
You fucking.
No, I had it pulled up,
Did
and
you
I
just get
literally
off of work or something? What the hell?
I know. I feel. Yeah.
I'm just
I
kidding.
feel-
Yeah, I got it right here. So, sort of getting by says it's a great film, although I'm not a fan of Kim Novak in it. The scene where Scotty realizes that Judy is forgetfully wearing the same necklace that she wore impersonating Madeline is one of Stewart's best. You can see the crazy. Rear Window is my favorite, though. See, I didn't read this guy's comment because I could tell it went into spoiler territory, but now reading it, because I started reading it the other day and I was like, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
But see, absolutely, my favorite part. You see him. It feels unhinged, which
Yeah.
bring me more of that energy. I don't know. I want it. That's the only comment. And then you commented to it, but I didn't read it because fuck yeah.
Oh yeah, I talked about Rear Window.
Oh yeah, you said Rear Window's
'Cause
cheating because it's great.
Rear Window is kind of cheating, dude. When it comes to like thriller, Rear Window is like straight up paranoia 100% of the time.
I feel like people.
It's like-
I feel like people hate me because so when I make these, we'll talk about it in a minute. But when I make the polls and everything, like I'm not putting the obvious ones on there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I like how you do.
This is a film club. It's like we're not here to just watch the obvious ones.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, we could watch a Marvel a month and a fucking, I don't know.
We'll talk about it in a
Avatar
sec, but with the
Yeah,
poll
right.
for this next week, I was going like 80s and 90s, and it's
Dude,
like
and I
people
love
are
that.
like,
I love
why
your-
didn't you do Seven and Silence of the Lambs? And I'm like, those are as much as I love those films, we all love those films.
Right.
I want to mix it up, but we'll talk
Trying
about
to-
that.
we're
We'll
trying
talk
to-
about that here in a minute.
Trying to expand your horizon. This movie, it was made for 2.5 mil and it grossed 7.7. So
That's obviously not for inflation, but that's pretty good
No.
for 50s.
No.
That's
right. But it is funny. It was kind of like quote unquote a flop. It was
Yeah.
not. It was not considered.
Well,
One
considering
of his
what
best
else was
movies,
at the
which is-
time, because yeah, he was. Because when was Birds?
Yeah.
Birds was 60s.
Birds.
Huh?
Birds came. Birds came way later.
Yeah, Birds was like 63 or something. Yeah. Trying to remember.
see.
all.
This is weird. Is that holy shit? Is that real?
What?
See, I feel like I need to find a better source, or it might be hard to do it. No, just because the box office
it's
for Rear Window, it says it was estimated $1 million to shoot, which totally seems legit. But then it says it grossed $36 million.
Holy shit!
So I'm like, did they bump up that $36 million
I don't
for
know.
inflation? But I guess it could.
That
I
one
guess it
was
could
a
have.
hit because that's why I said Rear Windows. His like Psycho reinvented
Right.
the game, but Rear
Right.
Window was like the bar.
That's yeah. I thought I always thought
He
like
set the
Rear
bar,
Windows-
and then like we talked about, the bar wasn't reset for thriller films. I'm sorry, we're skipping all the way ahead. It wasn't reset until Cape Fear.
Cape Fear.
Scorsese's Cape Fear.
Yeah, Cape Fear did. Oh, dude. Okay, I just looked at the poll for next month, and I'm like, hell yeah.
Top-
But can we do Travis's first?
yes.
please?
Well, because I have a couple things to say about the poll.
Right. We'll get there in a minute. We're giving Travis his this is Travis's
Everyone-
corner.
Okay, let's.
Travis's time to shine.
I hope this is the right one, Travis. Forgive me if not, but we're doing it.
It should be right.
It is, I think.
Second one.
Whoops, hold on, let me start that over. Sorry, I'm too comfortable in my chair here. How come I can't go back?
Guys, before I get into Vertigo, I have to revisit last week's call. How is it possible that neither of you have heard of CB4, starring Chris Rock, Chris Elliott, Phil Hartman, and Charlie Murphy? You got to put it on your to-see list. So while watching Vertigo, it was nice to see how everything looked in the late 50s in San Francisco. And although I've seen this movie before, I forgot what the twist was, so it was almost like seeing it for the first time. I don't think it holds up as much as I thought it would. Scotty alone wouldn't work today, and I felt uncomfortable once he started to intimidate and control Judy. So my question for you two is, if Vertigo was reshot now, how might it be different? I, for one, would like to see less driving, and the court church tribunal doesn't make much sense either. Thanks.
Dude.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. That it does not. That like the court. I guess the courtroom scene. It makes sense to just show like, oh, his,
It's weird they're doing it at the property.
She was crazy.
Like, it's
she
just
was
like,
crazy. So but no, that. Yeah. I guess that. Yeah,
I was
that
trying
is
to be
weird.
like, what is
It was-
happening? Yeah, it was weird.
It was so fast. I'm like, is that really how it was done? I guess maybe because he's an ex-cop and there's some shit there. Anyways, what did he say at the first part of it? I was
dude,
reading the transcript. It was weird. I didn't understand.
He was ragging on us.
Okay, what did he say?
Because remember last week we were like, what the fuck is CB4? The movies, the comedy movies he's talking about.
What is it?
No, he just says, I can't believe you guys have never heard of it, because it's got Chris Rock, Chris Elliott, Charlie Murphy, and I'm like, what? I've never heard of it. So I'm gonna go put it on my letterbox right now for you, because he's just like, I thought you guys were film. I thought you guys call yourselves cinephiles, you fucking pieces of shit.
How many CB4, dude? I just typed it up. What the hell is this? I've never even seen.
I thought that. I honestly thought the last time it was a typo.
A band CB4. Oh my god. Okay, sorry, Travis. Thank you for
the tagline is sex, rap, and family values. Yeah, buddy.
Hell yeah! You know the poster looks hilarious too. Parental advisory.
Yeah. Okay, it's on the watch list, Travis.
Yeah, consumer advisory.
How
comedy?
Honestly, if this were to change nowadays, if they made, we talked a little bit about it, but honestly, go full blown, make him the villain, because he does kind of become one, but they're still trying to make him sympathetic. To where she's the villain for deceiving him,
for tricking. Yeah,
but like and obviously she was party
and
to a murder.
They didn't really give her very much motive either.
No,
like,
she just that she's just some chick that's just living in New York.
Was it even, or was it even money that she really got? Like a substantial amount?
That's what
they
I'm
don't
saying.
even really.
She only exists for him to fucking lust after.
Yeah,
like, she does not. She just is a pawn, 100%.
Right.
Which is kind of, I was disappointed because having known all the tropes of the noir films, I was hoping, because at least a femme fatale in a noir, she stabs the dude in the back for her own nefarious needs. Like, she has her own wants and needs, and in this, she just goes along with what she gets hired to do this plot for we don't know why, and if it's money, then we don't even really know. She just is living in a fucking hotel or whatever, and then she goes along with him without telling him who she actually is, just getting pushed around and like getting, I don't know, it's weird.
Well, and they could build that motive where she fell in love and she likes to be controlled, and that can work. You can make that exist.
That's an interesting idea, though.
But like they skimmed the surface of that, like that character, but she didn't. She just seemed kind of more like, I don't really care. I don't know. It was weird. It didn't seem. It wasn't like she was. Well, she wasn't.
Travis,
doing it for any motive.
You literally say when he goes to intimidate and control, which it was super uncomfortable and super weird, and we're supposed to but if they would have really leaned into that, I think if in a more modern retelling of this, I think it would really lean into that where you see him become this villain who is like so warped by his grief and his love. That like changes him into this monster where he ends up, he either straight up murders her or he kills himself, which they chicken out and didn't do either.
No.
Because that's what I was at least hoping for, is either, because that would have had a better conclusion to.
Well,
he should have killed himself.
I wish
that would have been like a fitting arc about suicide. It would have been about his vertigo. Make it a fucking murder suicide, honestly. But I feel like they're afraid to commit to it, so they put the nun there for some reason.
I was hoping that they would embrace and then both die together. But the nun could have worked if she was silhouetted like the wife or something. Because that's what I made up in my mind, because I was like, that has to be the motive. Like, what was the nun being there and scaring her and she falls off? It's so thin that I was
she's
like,
just a spooky nun. She is the reckoning.
She is, dude. Yeah, she's the original nun.
Anyway, so that's about it. We're coming up on an hour. If you like this movie, I was saying it's different, but it's got the better vibes in general. But Femme is Double Indemnity is my choice.
Oh, okay.
The whole time I was like, I want that. That is the original, psychosexual thriller, the erotic thriller. That's the original, man.
I need to see it, dude. I've never seen Double Indemnity.
Hold on, you're telling me right now.
Yeah,
you've never seen Double Indemnity.
No.
And you call yourself, you haven't seen Double Indemnity or CB4? You call yourself a cinephile? You trash.
Oh, yeah. I know I am. I'm slacking here. CB4, dude,
please.
What is that? I gotta. There's a whole
Jordan,
whole genre.
Double Indemnity would probably be in my top 10 favorite movies of all time.
You and David, Passy keeps telling me to see it. It was like,
it's so good.
I know.
Last time I saw it was in theaters, though. I went and saw it by myself. And
oh, cool.
Turner Classic, man. When they were playing, I had to go see it. Anyway, so do you have any other Hitchcock movie?
Really? Yeah, a lot of his other stuff is amazing. It's like Hitchcock has been around. Like he deserves all the credit he gets.
He does.
I just kind of feel like,
and the
Vertigo,
score. He gets a fair amount of score, and then he also deserves. You could take them both.
Sure.
Well, for I don't know, being not, he gets the same kind of scoring that Kubrick gets.
When you get that much power, or Orson Welles.
Yeah,
but
all those guys got that same kind of,
Yeah, but dude, they were making heavy hitters.
They were, yes, they were.
Well, and it's such a bummer because it's like, I like slow burns, love them, give them to
love them too. I'm all about it. I'm just like,
this was just too floaty. There's nothing of substance. Like,
it was trying. It was trying to do stuff, but it was just not.
I do think it had. Yes, I think it had fantastic ideas, and they did their scenes really well. Just as it comes together as a whole motion picture, I'm not really.
Yeah, I agree.
Not really down.
Well, we both gave it 2.5 stars, so, and I feel like that's fair.
Right, it feels good.
Yeah. Anyway, that's Vertigo for y'all. For all you hardcore Vertigo fans out there, I would love for you to tell me all the reasons we're wrong.
Really though? Yeah,
Honestly,
please.
I want to
Come-
hear
come
it.
comment on the
Tell
Reddit
us,
or
come to the
Instagram.
Reddit,
Yeah.
call the phone number, whatever you want.
Right. Oh, and that phone number is,
Yeah,
if
lay
you'd
it
like to call in, it's 801-613-1501.
Great.
Feel free. Give us a little call, give us your opinion, give us your rants and
Give us
just
your rants.
get red in the face at us. Just scream at us that
Yeah.
we're wrong.
Do it. So
I love it.
we're working through thrillers. I'm losing all concept of time. So I thought yesterday was Sunday. So I posted the poll yesterday,
Oh yeah, classic.
but it doesn't end till tomorrow. Usually it ends today. But right now I feel like it's safe to say that Basic Instinct's going to win.
Yeah, I mean it's sitting at 43 votes right now, and nothing else is even in 20. So
yeah, nothing else close, which is interesting because when I made this, I didn't really think.
I didn't think Basic Instincts would take it.
I didn't, not by this much either, not by like how much it has, because I was like, okay, you got Body Double, which I've not seen, but is a Brian De Palma, who does these type of movies quite well, and I want to see.
Right.
The Hitcher, which has got a little bit of a cult following. The Vanishing, which is awesome.
Which is one of the greatest movies ever made.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I was tempted to do Vanishing. I did Basic Instinct. I voted for that.
So did I, but only because I was going to do Shallow Grave, because I fucking love Shallow Grave.
I know, but I've seen it. I'm trying to do movies I haven't seen.
That's the only reason I picked Basic Instinct, because I'm like, I've never seen it. But you know what turned the tide? I had no idea that it was directed by Paul Verhoeven. I had no idea. I literally pulled it up.
Wait, is that RoboCop?
Yeah. And Starship Troopers and all that.
Fuck yeah. Oh, well then hell yeah. Now I'm even more psyched to see it. I didn't know who I didn't know who directed it either. I read the synopsis for it and I was like,
I've always known what it was. And then I was like, oh, it's that classic movie with Sharon Stone and it's like Michael Douglas. And then I was like, wait, Paul Verhoeven directed it? What the fuck?
Dope.
Like,
okay,
so then makes sense. He dabbles in that.
I love how it says like a police detective is in charge of investigation of a brutal murder, which a beautiful and seductive woman could be involved. It's like, dude, brutal murder? Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah.
Paul Verhoeven?
Sign me up. So that's probably, aside from somebody coming in and being like, no, we're watching Shallow Grave and getting like 25 people to vote for it. You do you. I'll watch whatever you put. But
I wouldn't be mad about that either.
No, I wouldn't be mad. I'm just happy anyone votes, so thank you all that did. But yeah, sounds like Basic Instinct. And neither of us have seen it, which, is that's kind of been the theme lately. I've been leaning towards a little bit more of that.
I like it. I love
I'm putting
opening.
In one of the next polls, I'm putting at least a couple Denis Villeneuve movies for you that you haven't seen. I'm going to put Sicario for sure for you.
Please, I hope it wins because I just need to watch it anyways.
Yeah. We'll what?
It's like the only movie I haven't seen with him.
I know. We'll talk about it when we need to do more bonuses. If it doesn't win, we'll do that. So anyway,
I'm not the one that doesn't have a job, so give me what.
Yeah, buddy. Okay.
Alrighty, friend.
That's it. We did it.
I liked it.
We did it.
Did you plug all the stuff?
Everyone go to the Reddit. We're gonna pretty soon.
Patrons are amazing. If you want to become Patreon subscriber and help support us, that'd be fantastic.
Halloween is fast upon us. October is coming soon.
Yeah,
we're gonna I'm gonna put a post up soon.
Yeah, you should just put the post up like this week.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it up this week to get enough time.
Pin it or something too, so we can just have that.
Yeah, okay.
We need I want a list. I want to get people's picks, baby.
I'm in the mood.
Give us your movies. What are your? I love horror movies, dude. I watched both The Orphans this weekend. Yeah. I'm watching.
My daughter's been super into it. She keeps going Halloween because we put up Halloween decorations. Yeah. So I've been watching scarier movies with her already, and I'm gonna traumatize her.
Do it.
I literally started watching. This is totally real. I started watching the Nightmare on Elm Street 3, and it opens up, and she's like running through the dream sequence.
Is that Dream? What is that one?
Dream Warriors. Yeah, Dream Warriors.
Dream Warriors. Yeah.
And she's running through the dreams, and there's all the people hanging and everything, and then she has the little girl, and Emma's just standing there watching it, and she has the little girl, and she's like, help me, you're hurting me. And then looks down and she screams because the little girl's like a skeleton now. And Emma turns to me and is like, yeah, and starts screaming. And I'm like, all right, that's enough, I guess.
Yeah, whoopsie daisy.
Yeah.
That's a little too-
Okay, my bad.
Hell yeah, that's a core memory, baby.
Yeah. She likes it though.
That-
She fucking loves
Yeah.
being scared, in my defense.
Nice.
So, anyway.
did you watch Labyrinth with her? I feel like that could be.
I watched it when
Spooky enough
we
for-
watched it last year, but she wasn't old enough. But now she's into it because we watched all of Nightmare Before Christmas. And stuff.
Oh hell yeah,
She got-
baby. Oh,
she
dude,
got- she got
I didn't see
kinda
that. You didn't put that on
scared.
you didn't put that on your letterbox.
I know it's because we haven't watched like the last 10 minutes, and so I didn't technically finish it, but we gotta finish it. But she got a little scared of the Oogie Boogie Man, but
Yeah.
she likes it.
Cool.
So anyway, all right. Well, everyone, thanks for listening. I'm sitting up in my chair.
We'll watch some Basic Instincts.
Oh boy, my back is sweaty.
All right.
Okay,
Yeah.
all
Have
right,
a good night.
everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Love you all.
Bye-bye.
Patrons, you're great. Bye.